Hey everyone, welcome back. Or, if you're joining me for the first time, I'm John Wetz, and on this channel I talk about spirituality, personal growth, mental health, law of attraction, and there's a whole slew of other things that are going to be coming eventually as well. Things like light workers, star seeds, tarot decks, all kinds of fun esoteric stuff. So can't talk. So if this is something you're interested in, by all means, I'd love it if you give me a subscribe if you jive with my content. If not, it's cool, no pressure though. Today, I want to talk about the reason why you talk yourself out of even trying, or why you make your mind up about something before you even try it and just decide it's not for you. When I'm talking about this stuff, I'm talking about things that are normally like self-help type stuff, or things like meditation, spirituality, stuff like that. How many times have you had someone suggest something to you to help you, and you have either tried it with a biased opinion, going into it thinking that it was actually just bullshit, but you decided to play along so you could at least say you tried it, when in actuality you didn't try it with an open mind and give it a fair chance. Or just decided before you even gave it a chance that it just absolutely wasn't for you and didn't even bother giving it a try at all. And then later, you find yourself thinking about it, wondering how someone could suggest that to you, how it works for other people, but it just doesn't work for you. But you sit there and start convincing yourself that, no, you definitely made the right choice. You know yourself, you know it wasn't for you. They're just crazy for believing in it. But at the same time, you were waiting for something almost magical to come along to try to save you and make everything better, for someone else to have the solution. But nothing is ever a good enough solution. The truth is, nothing is going to be a good enough solution to save you and help you until you decide that you are ready to be saved and be helped for yourself, and you become willing to do the saving of you yourself. But somebody might be able to come along to help you understand a way to approach this for yourself that might actually work for you. To really understand what I'm going to talk about in this video, I want to talk about another video from a lady named Teal Swan that I saw the other day. She makes a few points in this that really help drill home part of what I'm talking about. I'm going to link the video for you guys. I honestly suggest that you watch it, either the full thing or the parts that I'm kind of utilizing for this happen in the first 6 minutes of her video. She's awesome, has great content, highly suggest her. But the stuff that she's talking about talks about the idea of identifying as a single thing and how that's not really how we work. For example, I am John, but there's so much more to John than just that one thing of me being a name, me being just this one person. There's a lot of aspects to me, and there's a lot of aspects to all of us. We all have these different parts of us. The parts that we love, the parts that we don't like so much, the parts that we try to hide from other people, and even the parts that we try to hide from ourselves. And she talks about how we can't fully trust ourselves if we don't acknowledge all these parts and let all these parts work together for us. Like, if one part of us doesn't trust the other part to properly take care of us and make decisions in the best interest of the whole of who we are are constantly going to be in a struggle and constantly having issues. We need to acknowledge these parts of us, even the parts that we don't like, because they're actually trying to tell us something about ourselves. They're not to be dismissed, they're not to be disliked, they're not to be hated. They're all part of us. They're all the part of what makes us us. And we may not like what they're trying to tell us, but we need to figure out how to learn to love all those parts of us, even the parts that we are afraid to show to ourselves. Basically, think of it like this. There's this war going on inside of you at all times between the different parts, especially when they are not able to work together because they can't trust each other. Basically, they're spending all these parts of you are spending this time fighting each other for your own happiness instead of fighting together for your own happiness. Until you're able to end that war inside of you between the different conflicting parts of yourself that can't trust the other parts of you, you're not going to be able to start to heal, and you're not going to be ready to let anything save you and help you get to a happier state in your life. The concept of doing this is often referred to as shadow work. As you kind of dive into your spiritual side and whatnot, you'll find a lot of people talk about shadow work. It's honestly a cool concept. It's the idea of just kind of looking at those parts of yourself that you're not super happy with and learning how to integrate them into your life, appreciating them for what they are, understanding that they serve a purpose, and allowing you to just be a more complete version of you that doesn't hide parts of yourself, doesn't fight with yourself. You just allow yourself to be authentically you. from the good, the bad, and the ugly. The reason that the concept of having these different parts of you is so important for this video is because that's exactly what's happening when you are deciding to make up your mind about something or try it with a jaded opinion. You are simultaneously afraid of being right and wrong at the same time. You're afraid that if you're wrong about trusting something again, that it's going to lead to you feeling let down, that hope is pointless, and just in general afraid to trust again. And it's going to reinforce the idea that hope only leads to pain. When we feel like we are misled or that we trusted something and that trust was violated, it leads to feeling dumb. It leads to a very knee-jerk reaction to trying to protect ourselves from feeling that again. Because that pain is a very intense, very real kind of pain. You may even subconsciously want to try something, but be hoping that it proves you right, that you can't trust it. And you might not even be aware of this. The reason why is because there is an emotional payoff when we are right. Like, it creates this feeling of that our feelings that we had were validated and had a reason for being there. And honestly, our minds just love to be right. So we will often subconsciously create reasons why we are right about something. And even when we're right about something that brings us pain, because that pain is familiar and the unknown is not familiar and scarier, we get caught up in this vicious cycle of trying to prove to ourselves that that defense mechanism of not trusting things is healthy for us when it's really not healthy for us. It just leads to us missing out on a lot of things. We convince ourselves that it's protecting us, that it's keeping us safe from being hurt again, but it's also keeping us from feeling the things that we want to feel. It's keeping us from happiness. There is a real uncomfortable comfort in the familiar pain that we learn to live with, and anything that threatens to pull us out of that comfort zone scares the crap out of us, scares that wounded part of us that is trying so hard to protect us. But you might also be afraid of being right, and that it works out, and that you find out that you can trust things, that bad doesn't always follow happiness, and trusting doesn't always lead to pain, which means that you were wrong, that part of you that built up the resistance to trusting things and kept telling you that it's not okay, that part of you gets almost offended and triggered. Let's face it, we're kind of prideful creatures that, like I said, we love to be right. We kind of learn to feel embarrassed when we are wrong, which leads to a lot of similar feelings that happen from having our trust violated. A lot of embarrassment, a lot of shame, a lot of just feeling stupid, like we can't trust ourselves. It really creates this vicious cycle. But let me just say this. It's okay to be wrong. It doesn't make you dumb. It just means that you didn't know something. There's no harm or shame in not being right all the time, or not understanding something. Everyone who has ever been successful has struggled a lot and has made mistakes at the very least. Like, almost anyone that you see that has made it to the top of whatever field they're in, they will tell you they've made a lot of mistakes. They probably made more mistakes to become successful than they had successes during their trail to being successful. Like, no one really has it easy, but we only see where they ended up. Oftentimes we don't see where they came from, or if we do, we don't see the whole path of it, which leads to a very distorted view of what success looks like and the path to success, or the path to happiness, or the path to a happy life in general. But the thing is, they didn't let their mistakes define them. They didn't let when they were wrong or when they did something that didn't work out hold them back from trying again. And that's basically what that part of you that is refusing to let yourself try new things, because you are basically trying to protect yourself in a not so healthy way. The best thing I ever did for myself was give myself permission to be wrong and stop worrying about how other people viewed me for being wrong, stop worrying about if I was dumb for being wrong, and just let myself have the freedom to make mistakes. I honestly had these times where I was feeling like people were almost waiting for that gotcha moment where they could say, I told you so. So it created this extra pressure to admit that I was wrong that honestly just doesn't need to be there. I'm sure you guys can kind of relate to what I'm talking about. You know, it's like when someone tells you something could help you, we often look at it from kind of a point of where we feel like they are trying to tell us that they are right about something. when in actuality, they're often just trying to offer a solution to a problem. But when we're in kind of a victim state, it's easy to get to a point where we are afraid that people are they're just waiting to point out that we were wrong again about something, even when that's not the case. Like, I realize that sounds a bit extreme, but honestly, that was something that I was doing. I was afraid of people having that gotcha moment where they were able to tell me that I was wrong and be like, I told you so. Never let that stop you from admitting you were wrong, because all you're really hurting is yourself in that scenario. Back when I was struggling with pretty much everything in that real depressive state, I honestly was just scared of being happy, because every time that I ended up happy, I basically got shit on later, and that happiness led to more pain. And I kind of discovered that I was actually afraid of hope. It just became easier to let myself stay in that depressed state and not get excited about things again, because then I didn't risk being crushed and going through the whole cycle of building myself up, getting excited, and then feeling let down. Like, whenever I did get excited about stuff, I didn't focus on what could go right. I focused on what was going to go wrong with it. I focused on all the bad things that could happen. I tried to prepare for it. I tried to, get ready to deal with it emotionally and everything. And so I would just talk myself out of things before I even let them have a chance, because I was just scared of getting hurt. And whenever information that came along that was like motivational or telling me ways to build trust with myself, to have faith, that things happen for a reason and whatnot, I just thought it was bullshit, and I would just dismiss it. Like, I was almost angry at it for even being there, because it challenged my comfort zone. It gave me hope that I wasn't ready for, that I didn't really want at the time, because I wasn't ready to risk being hurt again. I just wasn't ready for hope, because it was, as uncomfortable as I was and as miserable as I was uncomfortably comfortable with just getting by and, not setting the bar too high for my dreams, living the life that I convinced myself that I was okay with, while I sat there and watched jealously as other people watched their dreams come true, reach for the stars, and get to experience a life that was a lot more thrilling and a lot more enjoyable than mine. I didn't understand how their circumstances came so easily to them and how mine ended up so bad all the time. But it was just because of my perspective. And honestly, suggesting that to me, that was a huge problem, because I was not ready to admit that I was the cause of my own problem. That made me feel even more stupid. That made me feel dumb again. And it didn't work for me. Like, I wasn't ready to admit that. And suggesting to me that I was the cause of my own problems, that I was subconsciously preventing myself from being happy, that honestly felt like bullshit to me. It was like, I just wasn't having it. It's like, wait, so now I'm being blamed for the way I feel about things that other people did to me, that other people created the problems, and yet I'm being blamed for it. Like, it felt kind of like an assault or an insult to me. It felt like I was being accused of something that I didn't do or didn't think I did. It took me a while to really admit that I was just afraid of being happy, because I was afraid of hope and whatnot, and that I was basically just subconsciously stopping myself from letting myself get to a point where I could experience happiness again, because a part of me decided that happiness wasn't worth it because it led to so much pain. But once I realized that I was constantly recreating that for myself, and just, I don't want to say self-sabotaging things, because it's really not self-sabotage. It's self-love that's just expressed in a way that doesn't really work well for you. But I started finding power in the idea that if I'm the problem, I should also be able to be the solution. Like, that side of me that was so scared of being happy just refused to let me have a chance at being happy, because that chance was scary. And that chance is scary until you realize that you deserve better than that. And the thing is, I can't make you realize that. No one can make you realize that. That is something that only you can decide for yourself. Like, no one is able to tell you when you're ready to let go of that fear, because that fear is there for a reason for you. And one thing that might be able to help you, though, is this is something that has kind of been found out by everyone that starts on a spiritual path, that goes down this road. Everyone starts to realize that they have so much more power in them than they realize to create happiness, to find happiness in things, and find empowerment. they find opportunities that they didn't realize existed because they wouldn't let themselves have those opportunities, because they had these defense mechanisms that were just basically fighting them because they were just too scared to step out into it. And many of us that have gone down the spiritual path have found a love for life that we didn't think was even possible before. And one common thing with it is almost everyone that goes down this path started down it by ending up in a place that they were so dark and so scared of everything that they didn't know where to turn. But that shifted from, fear and anxiety to excitement and love and happiness. Like, this is something that I've personally found and been able to do. Like, I went from being terrified of life to being super excited about it. And that's why I'm doing videos like this now, because this stuff works. I fully believe in it. And honestly, I believe that anyone out there can make this jump themselves, because there are thousands upon thousands of people that have had experiences with this, just like I'm talking about now. There are countless stories on YouTube about this, about people finding self-empowerment through this kind of path. And you can absolutely be the next one that adds to it. It's okay if you're not ready to accept the truth that you are basically, or a part of you is the cause of your unhappiness and your own problems. It's okay if you're not ready to accept that. But understand that until you are, things aren't going to get better. Like, you have to be willing to take that first step, to take responsibility for your own emotions, your own everything, and start trying to work from there. When you are ready, trust me when I say this, you will step into your own power. You will find a new love for life. You will begin to experience it in a way that you probably don't even think is possible right now, because I sure didn't when I went through the hard times. Like, it's not going to stop hard times from happening. Like, bad things are still going to happen when you make this shift and decide that, you're basically the cause of your own unhappiness when problems arise. But you're going to also end up in a point where you are more well equipped to deal with it, and you won't break down like you may have in the past. You won't be so fearful of trusting again. You will realize that the bad times do go away, and the good times will come again as well. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I genuinely hope you got something from it, and you walk away from this a little bit more feeling empowered and understanding more of yourself and why you do some of the things you do that you may not have been aware of that you were doing before watching this. There's one more thing I have for you guys. I want you guys to listen to a song. I'm going to link it up here. The song is called Rescue You by Jake Epstein. It's a song that was played on a TV show called Degrassi. When you listen to the song, though, I don't want you to just listen to it. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture your future self, like the you that you want to become, singing this song to the current you, the wounded you. I want you to picture yourself pulling yourself forward into the you that you want to be. I honestly think it's really powerful when you listen to it like this. I've done it a few times myself, and it's just really powerful. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Love y'all, and until next time.